world is ending. This may not be the first time, but it will be the last. The hubris of humanity has finally caught up to them. No one can quite point out the place humanity went wrong, but everyone knows the truth. The world is ending. When Ersonon created the world, they simply sought companionship. When the god created plants, it wasn't enough. Next came animals, who were also not enough. And then came humans, capable of feeling, thinking, and perhaps most importantly, controlled magic. They could reshape reality with a spell, and this was a language Arsanon could speak. They did not create humanity to become a god, but they were one anyways. The humans worshipped them like that. By many names and doctrines they prayed for help. Sometimes he answered and others he didn't. He allowed humanity to develop semi-independently. But eventually, just like plants and animals, humanity was not enough. While they were ambitious with their magic, they never got to a level that Arsanon wanted, and so he created a new race, the Aelfir. Stronger, faster, taller, longer living, and better at magic, these were his new children. The Aelfir quickly learned of their superiority over the humans and set about subjugating every human on the planet. Humanity was enslaved by Arsanon's new children, but Arsanon did not intervene. They did not see it as their place. Arsanon saw it no different than the countless times humanity had enslaved each other. Now, time to Arsanon is not like time to an Aelfir or human. Centuries of existence for a mortal could be a blink for them. In this time, the Aelfir developed. The Aelfir advanced both technology and magic, created floating cities, flying transportation, machines of war, and other more magically horrifying creations. All this was built upon the backs of human slaves. The Aelfir also created one other thing of important note, a spell that could kill a god. They never planned on using it, but if the day came that maybe Arsanon decided to help humanity, they would protect themselves. They were so busy worrying about Arsanon helping humans, they didn't pay enough attention to the humans beneath them. The Aelfir had long ago killed all human magi, and humans learning magic was strictly forbidden. But if there's one thing that can be said about humans, it is that they have an incredible will to survive. Over time, centuries even, humans learned magic in secret and spread these secrets across the world. One day, the day of reckoning for the Aelfir would come. And then all at once, humans around the world would rise together to free themselves. The Godherja had begun. Godherja, also known as the God War, was not your average war. This was not about land or money or pride. This was about existence and freedom. The humans fought for their lives because they had nothing else. They understood the risks involved and the punishment that would come if they failed. There would be no prisoners in this war, no truces, no peace. It was Aelfir versus humanity. Only one people would walk away from this alive. The war claimed millions, perhaps billions of lives. Every major city was reduced to rubble. All that had been created in centuries were gone. Powerful magic from the Aelfir sank cities, raised up mountains, and turned once fertile land into dust. They were undeniably more powerful than humans, but they just couldn't outlast humanity. Onwards, the human pushed until no Aelfir was left on the planet. Society had broken. Civilization was gone. But they were victorious. Humanity had survived, through most of the population had died. There was no time to celebrate, though, as there was still one being left to fear. Arsanon did not see the Godherja. The time period was too short for them to process, but the humans did not know this. They feared punishment for killing their god's favorite children, and so they did the unthinkable. They took the spell the Aelfir had created, aimed it into the sky, and fired. Arsanon looked upon the world in time to see it happen, but it was too late. The beam fired upwards through the clouds and into the god. Arsanon was dead. Humanity had killed their god, and this was the first time the world ended. Reality broke with its creator dead. The world bent and stretched and broke again. The small population of humanity was almost wiped out by the eternal apocalyptic disasters, eventually reducing them to a couple thousand. If there was any hope of restoring civilization, it was forgotten. Eons of progress would be lost, sending humans back into hunter-gatherer societies barely surviving. The full extent of the damage would not be known to humans, how badly they had broken the structure of their universe. They had even broken death itself, though they would not face the consequence of that until much later. Eventually, the time of mid-range stability had passed. Humanity had once again survived, and as always, humanity started to rebuild. The knowledge of Ersanon, the Aelfir, the time before, had almost entirely been lost countless generations ago. Any semblance of connection was distorted and changed. New societies were built. Empires rose and fell. The same old story. But there was one in particular that is important, and that is the story of Adversaria. The people who would form Adversaria were ruthless. They would conquer and enslave anyone near them. They were powerful, and with the rediscovery of magic, became even more so. But the rediscovery of magic would set humanity down the path to the end of the world. Adversaria would expand, conquer, and grow rich. A nation of brutality, new rulers were chosen through duels. Magi would use their power to gain control. Civil wars were often and bloody, but Adversaria always seemed to recover and grow larger. Countless disasters and wars would only further strengthen Adversaria. Every ruler needed to be stronger than the last. Their magical prowess grew, and with it their destructive capabilities. More people were enslaved, more wealth was acquired, more war and more power. Magi were becoming extremely ambitious, but this was not the end, only the beginning. Odortrund. The effect known as Godherja had not been uncommon. While humanity did not know it was Ersonon causing them. Well, yes, they had killed the god, the body still stirred. With every movement, a wild burst of magic would change small parts of reality. This was known as Godherja. Odortrund happened to be the worst of them all. The magical nobility of Adversaria were the most affected. Every negative personality trait became more potent. Anger became hatred, ambitious to envious. What was once a brutal culture became openly hostile and violent. The empire started to shatter. There's much that happened between Odortrund and the end, but that is a story for another time. The important thing to know are two names, Asacreus and Axiothea. Friends, rivals, perhaps even lovers, but it matters not. All that matters is that in the end, they brought about the end of the world. They were the most powerful human magi to ever exist. They were pitted against each other in training, always pushed harder to try and destroy the other one, and though it would take years, eventually they would decide who was the strongest. When Autocrator Anasamasios, the husband of Axiothea and emperor of Adversaria, was assassinated by apparent poisoning, there were only two people who had the power to claim the throne. Legend Asacreus, an accomplished commander who had been given a prestigious appointment moments before the Autocrator's death, rose up his army in the west. Axiothea fled east and raised an army of her own. The end had begun. The armies fought constantly. The lands of the empire, once rich and fertile, became wasteland. Cities were destroyed, countless lives were lost, and still they fought. Every time one would gain a slight advantage, the other would find a way to get even. They both realized that the only way to win was to find a new kind of magic, something the other didn't have. It ended up being self-replicating blood magic. Asacreus found it first. The second strongest spell in human history, the first being the spell which killed Arsanon, was ready. The only thing needed for it to be casted was a sacrifice, and Asacreus sacrificed everything. His court, his commanders, his magi, and even his family, all would be consumed. The spell did its job. The city Axiothea was in was obliterated. She and her entire court were killed in an instant. Some of the most prosperous parts of the empire were reduced to rubble. If that had been the end of things, it may have been different, but it wasn't. Asacreus may have casted the spell, but he could not control it. The end was here, and it was known as Frogbrokna. The spell was out of control. Humanity had finally reached its breaking point. The spell did many, many things. First, it destroyed many areas that had not been the target. Entire continents were broken and swallowed by the sea. Then it started to aim into the air. Asacreus desperately tried to stop it, but it was too late. The beam hit the moon Erveler and shattered it. The last thing that happened was the spell disturbed the endless rest of Ersonon. All that happened was one of Ersonon's eyes cracked open, but that was enough. With the eye open, every soul that had ever existed and died, every thought, every dream and nightmare spilled forth into the world. It became known as the fog. When one is caught in the fog, they are almost assuredly dead. The endless whispering, the manifestation of the most terrifying nightmares, the fog beasts, all would mean insanity and then death. Everyone who died on the planet Eris would join the fog, and it spread. Sometimes slowly, others like a raging wildfire, unpredictable, uncontrollable, and most importantly, unfixable. It consumed all it touched, ending countless lives, devouring large chunks of the once great Adversarian Empire. It also spread to the east of the continent as well, consuming great empires of equal renown. The time had come. This was the apocalypse. The world was over. But this story is not over. As humans have shown, they will fight to the end. Stubborn and diligent, they will not go down without a fight. While there is no beating the fog, they will still fight each other. Not even the end of the world can tame the ambition of humankind. We have not mentioned Sunware Witchbreaker, the petty warlords of the once great Adversarian Empire, or the resurgence of the Saradon people. But these stories are still in progress. What is done is done. The world is ending, and there's nothing anyone can do. But the story of humanity is not quite over. The fog is halted for now, and in this time there will be no heroes saving the world, but a bloody battle to the end, in which no one will survive. The world will end for the last time. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this lore video about the Godherja Total Overhaul mod for Crusader Kings 3. I have really been enjoying playing this mod myself, and I definitely recommend that if you are looking to expand upon your Crusader Kings 3 experiences, that you go and download this right now. You can find a link down below in the description to both their Discord if you have more questions about the mod and the setting, and straight to the Steam page in case you just want to download it and get right into it. It is absolutely fantastic. You can tell the passion that has been put into the mod in general. There is so much details, and it is a huge mod. One of the empires in here has 418 counties in it, and that is only one of perhaps dozens of empires. It is a huge map full of detail, again, I highly, highly recommend you check it out. I'm hoping to actually start a series of Godherja here on the channel at some point. I just need a couple of bugs that are against TOS to go away before I can do that. But I'm looking forward to the day when I can do that, because let me tell you, again, I really cannot emphasize how great this is. So once again, I would like to thank you all for watching. Again, the link down below in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.